This video is about poor people culture or ghetto culture, and the reason why I want to talk about this culture is that I myself come from and still live in this culture. Growing up, I grew up in hotels and trailer parks, and a lot of people, they get culture shocked when they come to my channel for the first time. A lot of Redditors and normies, as I call them, have an issue with me, but I think it's really just a cultural thing, and I want to educate you, the viewer, today on what it's like to live in the ghetto and the mindset of someone like me. I don't adopt all of these mindsets, and I'll let you know which ones I do and don't adopt, but people that come from my part of the world and people that come or live in this amount of poverty think and act the way that I'm going to be describing in the video. So let's get started. Now, real quick, I want to mention that this kind of thought process or cultural phenomenon is not, there's not a word for it. The closest thing that I can think of is like, you know how the Japanese say that they save face or saving face? Or like if you're in Japan and you invite someone to, say, your birthday party, they'll just smile and say, they'll smile at you, they'll say, yes, I'll come to your birthday, and then they won't show up. And it's not like they're betraying you or they're standing you up or being rude. They're simply just forced to be nice. But in this way, the ghetto is completely different. You can call it maybe like street cred. You can call it some sort of endless vendetta, or, you know, trying to equalize beef. There's a lot of words you could probably use. Other words you can think of are like honor or reputation, but this street beef is so much more than that. It's like a zero-sum game of collective honor shared by the whole group. And when I say whole group, it could be family, it could be a gang, it could be, in some cases, just people that earn a certain amount of money per year kind of thing. And these people, they take it insanely very seriously. A system like this, it's just foreign to people in the middle class or upper middle class who have, higher values or critical thinking skills. And it's very antithetical to every form of governance on the planet. It'll destroy any system that assumes good faith, essentially. Now, this street beefing or puffing out one's chest in the ghetto is not about who is right and who is wrong. It's about who wins and loses, all right? It's a zero-sum game where just about any action is justified. And this, in the streets, it includes murder. You may be wondering, why do poor people like just gun each other down over like $20, all right? It's to restore the lost respect of sorts. It's like a limited social currency, and the easiest way to get it is to take it from someone else, all right? Winning is the righteous thing in the streets, all right? Losing is just, oh, you're worthless if you lose, all right? So that means if someone plays the game of the streets well enough that they can essentially get away with just about anything, and, like cheating, stealing, etc. And the only morality of the street cred is the protection of you or your group's collective egos. And the only appropriate response when your ego is challenged or attacked is the complete destruction and annihilation of whoever insulted it. And let me give you a very basic example. So at some point, I'm a young lad, middle school age, maybe 6th grade, 7th grade, I don't remember. But essentially, I had learned a new your mama joke, something about being born out of a butt instead of, well, you know what. And I run to the very first kid out that's playing outside that I see, and I'm like, I want to try out this joke. And, well, this kid, we were on good terms. We didn't hate each other or anything. We hung out at each other's houses, played video games, whatever. And I just randomly run up to him and blurt out the joke because autism, right? And he immediately gets hyper offended to the point where he attacks me physically, right? And this kid is at least a couple years older than me. He's also a Golden Glove boxer. And, he starts punching, and so I start punching back. I realize in the middle of the fight that he has way more reach than I do because I am the smaller kid in this fight. But I also realize that he only has punches, and I'm trained in, like, full-body stuff. So I start just sweeping and kicking, and eventually we, beat each other up to the point where we're both just exhausted, and we're kind of like, this isn't worth it anymore. So we both just kind of dust each other off and walk away, right? But the thing is like a normal person would realize, oh, he's just having a gaffe, he's just telling a joke, he just told a random joke, he doesn't mean it. But when you live in the ghetto, when you live in the streets, you're attacking someone's ego, And, I guess he couldn't banter back, but it just infuriated him. It just, like, drove him to, like, extreme violence, right? But see, we're just kids, right? So it's not like a big thing. But as adults in the ghetto, it's way different. Like, okay, imagine two people get into an argument. Normally they might escalate or whatever and resolve their differences. And chances are it wouldn't be that bad, right? Like, oh, sorry, I accidentally broke your window, right? And, in an argument, that's just what it is. But in the ghetto, the stakes are almost always deadly, all right? Neither person can back down, regardless of who's right or who's wrong, nor can they admit that they've done wrong. Whereas admitting fault, and again, if you go watch, like, not dash cam, but, like, police body cam videos, you're going to see this all the time with the usual suspects. Admitting fault is seen as deliberately humiliating yourself. And not only that, but because, like, street credit or your, I don't know, again, there's not really a word for it. Your honor, your integrity is shared in the ghetto. You are shaming everyone who shares that same family group, right? So, again, you attack one person, you attack everybody. So admitting fault, or that you did wrong, or taking responsibility, as people would say, for a problem that you either did or didn't do, or someone else did, whatever, it's a form of social, self-harm in the ghetto. And it means that even if the dispute was over something completely stupid or meaningless or trivial, I don't know, broken window or something, it could spiral into years of feud, all right, if not instantaneous violence. So this is also why police just really, really hate domestic disputes in the ghetto, because, like, street beef, it's a zero-sum game. All participants are involved in the game, so if a cop sides with one, like, gang or family or whatever over another in a dispute, then they're deliberately taking the side of one of the groups, which means the other one is entirely dishonored of sorts. Dishonoring might not be the right word here, but it marks the cop, not only, but the other gang or group for retribution to the offending party. And without, parties being able to be impartial in the ghetto, because that's not going to happen, there is no centralized authority that can really function in this sense. And if you live in a real bad ghetto, like, let me just give you a random example of just meaningless crap, right? So, let's say you live in, like, a crappy apartment, right? And you complain about a broken water heater, okay? So instead of, doing the responsible thing, you call the office, you call a maintenance, whatever, to fix the water heater because it's an apartment, you don't have access to it or whatever. So instead of the problem being addressed, the official response is that, either deny that the water heater is broken and that it's not a problem, and then counterattack just for, phoning them up or bugging them by doing all sorts of crap to you. Because daring to question the efficiency of the water heater is an attack on the staff or the super or the maintenance guy or whatever, and their role is basically they feel challenged, right? And so essentially they just destroy your life or destroy your property. Like, oops, they aired out your tires, they knifed your tires, just for bringing the problem up. And of course the water heater never gets fixed. And if you've ever worked in, like, the restaurant industry, fast food, retail, it's also why ghetto people or people in, the poor, poverty areas, it's why they initially just hire more poor people to work at whatever job they may have gotten a semblance of power in. And it's from the manager's perspective, right? They're using their position to gain social currency within, their group, right? Merit and actual qualifications, none of that matters, right? Like, if you have a manager that's like a tatted-up gangster thug with a criminal record, he's going to hire tatted-up gangster thugs with criminal records, right? So, if he hires someone that's, like, college-educated or middle-upper class, he does not gain or lose street cred or by doing so, but he has a very strong incentive not to be impartial in hiring, But if he can strong-arm dozens of other criminal ghetto, people along with him, he's gaining huge quantities of street credit. And he will also feel like those in the ghetto owe him an absolute debt. And it's not uncommon to see, people that rise up, the ladder doing this kind of stuff gloat like crazy. And, the street beef stuff, it's basically a system that it enables short-term success, sure. But the reality is that the prosperity that, these street beefers find so attractive in the first place is that if you practice something similar, like the main systems of the governance in the world can only exist on good faith, okay? And if a majority of people are exploiting this good faith, it just becomes destructive for short-term gain. And, if a down low brother in the ghetto causes, systems and companies and, whatever he comes into contact with to collapse due to bad hiring process, because when you hire a bunch of criminals, they start stealing from the stores and calling in late and showing up high and getting drunk and attacking customers, and all sorts of things, right? And they don't really have anything to lose. It's not their company, so they just go back to the streets and go back to, dealing drugs or, shoplifting or whatever it is they were doing beforehand. They have no stake in the long-term longevity or prosperity of the system or society. And, they don't care about the functionality, as long as they got theirs. These stakes are asymmetrical, into the ghetto person's favor, essentially. Like, I'm sure you've seen videos of, like, people that have ridiculously high amounts of food stamps. They have a really nice Section 8 house, and while they're driving new cars, having Rolexes and buying all sorts of gourmet things, right? And, winning in the ghetto is righteous. Losing is not. And by employing clever means of getting around rules and whatnot, they've extracted more resources for themselves and their family, all right? So from the perspective of someone in the ghetto, rules are simply not something you should respect or abide by. They're merely an obstacle or a chore to get around for their own gain, all right? And so they're going to cheat the system, and as long as they aren't caught, then they are seen by their peers and by other people in the ghetto as righteous and dignified in the framework of how the ghetto is. Like, there's a story I read a long time ago, and I don't remember, the full details, but essentially, there was a bunch of ghetto people that would hang out in a street corner. It was their little hangout. And some guy that came in and bought a bunch of property and was gentrifying the neighborhood, he just offered to pay the people that, stood on the street corner. He offered to pay them money just to go away and stop hanging out there. And so what they ended up doing was they just got a bunch of people and beat the guy to death. And it's not that the problem wasn't so much that he had asked or offered to pay them, but it's because they felt criticized or they felt like they were being talked down to. And so, with the ghetto, with the street cred, it's not eye for an eye, right? Because, someone insulted me, so insult them back. No, it's eye for a whole head, okay? So, this guy disrespecting you, dog, you gonna let that stand, bro? And, well, they, did what they did. So, brutally annihilating their enemies is apparently the correct move that the people in the ghetto make, because you take back all your lost honor and disrespect by doing so. And then some. You get a one-up on them, right? And this is the kind of vindictiveness that would be rightly seen as horrifying and disgusting in most of the world, in the real world, upper middle class people, right? And there's a story I read on Unfortunate. I don't know if it's real or not, right? But it was about, one of the usual suspects. He was gloating on, like, Facebook and stuff with, like, giant fat stacks of cash. And the cash was for motion picture use only money, so it was fake money, right? He had all these, like, fake watches and pictures of supercars, but the guy didn't have any supercars. He also, said he could bench press, like, 500, like, kilograms. Like, okay, right? Kilogram, that's ridiculous. That'd be like 1,000 pounds. You can't do that. That's not possible, right? And anyway, so, people started pointing out, like, they didn't believe any of it, right? And so, of course, the guy, trying to defend his street cred, got all upset and started, sending out death threats to people on Facebook and all this other illegal stuff. And so, of course, they, called the cops, and, the cops showed up to the dude's house, So rather than just admit that he's just trolling the internet and making up a bunch of crap, the dude had a standoff with the police and ended up getting shot and died, right? And it's baffling because the whole situation is like, you were just making up lies on the internet. You didn't have to die for that. But, you know, without the street credit, it looks insane to normal people and completely pointless, right? But when you live in the ghetto, you realize that the actions make sense. You know, he was boasting to increase his street cred. He was boasting to try to get, increase his honor and reputation. And then when he got called out, on the internet, it was seen as an attack on him. And so, of course, he escalated it because that way he could restore his lost honor. And, of course, when the police got involved, the dispute became public. So, he rather than live with the shame, I guess, of lying to people on the internet, it just became unbearable for the guy. So, of course, he did what he did to force the police to shoot him. Suicide by cop, essentially, to save his remaining street cred, right? And, yeah, so, and these actions, you see this a lot, you see this all the time, especially if you watch a lot of body cam footage and stuff, but, yeah, again, this is what makes me believe that the story that I saw was genuine, all right? So, essentially, the Western idea of merit is competence in a role, all right? Whereas merit in your street credit is determined by what lengths you will go to achieve a goal, all right? With competency merely being one path, sure. But it often becomes a secondary path as, like these people, like back in the day, you can't do this anymore, but back in the day, people would like print, like insurance forms to say that, oh yeah, they, have car insurance or whatever. And of course it's fraud, but or they'll try to make up that they have, certain qualifications or tools that they don't actually have. There's a whole lot of things. Basically, they are trying to appear more valuable and authentic rather than be morally justified or morally above others. And the thing is that, like, I get that not everyone's poor or lives in the ghetto, but like if this mentality was discussed openly, like on the news and on, talk shows and stuff, it would be one of the greatest insults to the down low, brothers in history. And, it would just get real bad. Because people truly, like, they live sheltered lives. They truly do not know how bad it is. And if they saw or knew that things like this were happening all the time, they would probably say, oh, wow, that's disgusting. We should really stop this. But, in the streets, the problem isn't the point. The point is that the problem would be being exposed and then the perceived insults of people being disgusted by it for exposing the problem, right? Again, the water heater never gets fixed. Now, there is something to, rest your mind about, and that is that street beefs and street cred performs awfully in the long term, all right? So once the down low brothers, they displace you, they'll go back to playing this insane game among themselves, all right? And you'll see it's what's happened to, like, companies that have went under because of this. And you'll also know this is why there aren't any down low ghetto poor brothers that work their way up in companies like Google and, Nvidia, Microsoft, whatever, the tech companies, Facebook, whatever. You don't see you don't see like full tatted up ex-gangsters ever as CEOs at any big company. And that's why, essentially, right? And whenever, these ghetto brothers start getting ahead, the companies always implode by infighting. No one's doing their jobs anymore because everyone's too busy beefing. Everyone's trying to cheat each other, and nobody's really addressing critical issues because that would be admitting fault. You actually see this in like the lower parts of retail all the time too. Systems that delegate authority and work on, good faith will eventually win out over the zero-sum honor feuding of the streets, right? And, street beef, honestly, like, you can't maintain complex systems because the people are only concerned with their short-term gain. And, with the poverty areas, the issue is that it fails to live up to its own ideals. It's not a perfect system, but, you know, normal people can course correct, they can address the problems pragmatically, whereas with, you know, download ghetto brothers in the streets, you know, they're going to live up to the ideals very often, and when you see the dysfunction of how everything operates in a poor area, just remember, it's a feature, not a bug. And do note that people in poverty in the ghetto, they're not, like, thinking it like that. They don't think that this is how it is. They're just doing evil stuff because it benefits them, and then it's essentially collectively winning for the poor. So, like, you know, like when EBT got delayed, and they're like, we're gonna go shoplift, and everyone's like, yeah, you go, girl, or whatever. They're collectively winning because they are taking back what they believe was stolen from them, even though technically they were never... You get the idea. And in ways, it's not just poor or ghetto people, but also the hyper-wealthy or the rich, where having more money means that you are righteous, or people that, you know, make a lot of money somehow game the system, you know, because of their entrepreneurialism, startups, sales, corporate ladder climbing, etc. But at the same time, in poverty in the ghetto, anyone that tries to better themselves or distance themselves from the things that make them in poverty, for instance, someone learning to read, or someone trying to do well in school, or someone trying to get a higher education or work for, you know, a normal job that doesn't involve crime and peddling drugs, all of their friends, all of their peers, all of their family, all of their everybody around them will try to be crabs in the bucket, pulling them down, telling them what they're doing is, you know, bad, or that, you know, they won't support it. They will be negative and bully those that are trying to escape. And you'll also notice things like when a rapper gets really famous and gets very rich, that suddenly all the hood homies that he hung out with now hate his guts and view him as an enemy. And essentially the reason why they're so hateful and angry is, think of it like a clout leaderboard of sorts. And you'll notice that's why there's like so many fights with like wait staff, airport staff, anything of authority really too. And you can even say that like it's very copy-paste. It's almost like NPC behavior. It's like it's very predictable. Think of it like a social hive mind of sorts. And to help you like get mental clarity on this, any act of service is losing in the ghetto, and this means like holding a door open for someone, returning a shopping cart. They see it as free labor, and so they won't do it. And if you do it to them, like you hold a door open for them, they will scoff at you for helping them, because it makes them feel weak and beneath you. And those that do escape poverty, they have an obsession with being doctors, lawyers, cops, anything of authority or power, and because they can use that status to mess with you if you've disrespected them. And to simplify things, you could just say that most people in the ghetto suffer from malignant narcissism, which is a personality disorder that combines narcissistic traits with antisocial behavior, sadism, which is something I personally have, and paranoia. Alright, so if you don't know what that means or what that is, it includes things like extreme sense of self-importance, lack of empathy, deriving pleasure from others' pain, and it leads to, you know, destructive behaviors like manipulation, emotional abuse, disregard for the rules, and yeah. There's a whole lot to it. And also, and not just people from the ghetto, but many e-celebs, you know who e-celebs are, famous people on Twitch and YouTube, they operate the same way, the exact same way that I've talked about so far in this video. Even if they're not famous, even if they're just little baby channels that barely get any views, for example, FanCant, you'll notice that I'm beefing with him right now. He started it, I'm going to puff my chest out and fight back, I'm not ever going to back down, he probably won't either, and the thing is that he sees that he has done no wrong, even though he was the one to attack me first, and he is the one to go after me first, and I'm on the defense, okay? But he sees that he does nothing wrong, and he just continues with his name-calling and put-downs on Reddit. And of course, he gets, you know, he has a little, you know, inner circle where everyone pumps him up and like, yeah, talk crap about Soul Benji, right? And that's just how it is. So now that you're educated on it, I want to talk a little bit how it implies or applies to me, rather, and what it means. So before anyone says anything, there are people out there that are like, oh, but there's plenty of people that escaped the ghetto and made lives for themselves. Look at Kai Cenat, look at IShowSpeed, and I'm like, Yeah, both of their parents had houses and stuff, and they were maybe in a ghetto, but not an actual real ghetto. But anyway, so I want to educate you real quick on the anomaly that is me. So, growing up, someone like me should never be in a position that I am currently in. For one, to be a gamer, two, to be a YouTuber. What? So people in the ghetto generally don't seek education. They don't learn how to do things, and they get addicted to drugs and alcohol, smoking, and other unhealthy habits at a very early age, which rots their physical and mental well-being to the point of them basically being paycheck to paycheck essentially forever. And me, on the other hand, the way video games is kind of how I escaped being in the ghetto. It's like, well, how did you afford video games if you were in the ghetto? And the answer is that my parents would dig through dumpsters and find electronics to repair in workable enough condition to then pawn off at pawn shops to make money, right? And, they were working multiple jobs at the time, and that's just how it is. They were hustling, right? And so at some point they found a regular Nintendo system in a dumpster, repaired it to where it was working, and then they basically used it as a babysitter. I never had babysitters because that costs money. So, just put on a movie, put on some video games, and the kid will sit there and, do whatever while we go to work. So essentially, I remember playing video games as early as 3 years old. And I would play like regular Mario Brothers or whatever, and eventually I would get so good at it that I could, speed run it in like 7-8 minutes. And I want to say 6-7 minutes, but there's no way I was that fast. 6-7, right? But I know the world record speed run for Mario Bros. Like 5 minutes. I never got that fast, but I did get at least down to like 7 or 8 minutes as a 3-year-old. I'm not joking here. But I started to play other games, and other games, had words, like Legend of Zelda 2, right? That's a very wordy game, right? You go talk to an NPC, and they're like, oh, here's a quest, and I didn't know how to read it, and so I'd always bug my parents, what does this word say? What does this word say? And they eventually got pissed off to the point where they just taught me how to read. And so as early as age like 4 or 5, my reading level was that of being able to read adult novels. Like, I remember as a 5-year-old, like, I'd be like, Mom, what is ilmsturbate mean? You know what word that is, right? And they'd be like, you'll figure out when you're older. I'm not joking, right? And so when I entered the school system, I already knew how to read. I also know how to do math. And funny enough, I had a bunch of Vietnamese neighbors at the time. And one thing that their culture was, at least, growing up in the time period that I grew up in, what they were super interested in was getting ahead of everyone in class. That was like, they were like PvP scholars, okay? And so, me being one of the neighborhood kids, they would basically, one thing that they learned is that they would be able to learn better themselves if they were able to teach someone else what they knew. And so all the Vietnamese kids would teach me advanced math. So I could do multiplication and division, fractions, decimals, and all that kind of percentages by the time I was like 7 or 8. And I remember like debating with teachers. They'd be like, what is 1 minus 2? And I'd be like, -1. Right? 1 minus 2. And they're like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't take 2 away from 1. And I'm like, yes, you can. It's -1. And they would get mad at me. And it was really frustrating to be in school and not be able to do negatives yet until like several years later. But the point is that, I learned how to read and do math very, very early on. And I don't know what happened in my life for me to be this certain way, but something happened that made me a massive contrarian, which means you are a dissenter from the norm. You go against the grain. You go against the popular or against the flow of what people generally do, right? So very anti-Reddit, right? You get all the downvotes for being a contrarian on Reddit. But so what this means is that growing up in the ghetto, everyone was into drugs, alcohol, smoking, and tattoos, and a bunch of other degenerate things that people did. But for me, though, I was a contrarian, so every single time, as early as like 4th grade, like, I don't know, like 8, 9 years old, people were wanting to smoke and get drunk and do all sorts of drugs, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Nope, right? And people would, like, there's so much peer pressure in the ghetto to do these things. And I would watch as people that, tried to stand their ground and say no to all this stuff eventually crumble and give in. And when I say peer pressure, I don't mean, oh yeah, some cool kid is pressuring you to smoke. I'm talking about girls that will literally put out if you smoke with them or drink with them. Dudes that will buy you things and, take you out places if you just hang out with them and do their drug of choice or drink their alcohol of choice. And again, this is in the teenage years as well as young adult years. That's how the ghetto is. Everyone smoked, everyone drank, and you are a weirdo and a freak show and an oddball if you don't do these things. And if you don't do these things, you don't get invited to parties, you don't get invited to hangouts, you get socially ostracized for it. Now, in the ghetto, back in the day, video games were a very nerd hobby. You would get bullied, beat up, or attacked if someone found out you were a gamer. But in the ghetto, you couldn't, no one can afford video games. You had to go and make friends with people who had a system. Oh, this kid in class has an N64. Oh, let's go to his house and play GoldenEye. Oh, right. But as a child, I learned how to hustle very early on. I would, as early as age 6, I would run around the whole town, pick up aluminum cans, stuff them in a bag, and go to some weird bearded guy out in the middle of nowhere that owned a truck, and then sell him the aluminum cans for money. I would run around and just pick up anything of value and sell it. I would take snack food items. You can go to a dollar store and get a thing of cookies back in the day for 50 cents, and then go to school and sell it to the rich kids for $1. So that was a 100% profit. And if you sold 10, 20 bags of chips a day, then you made $20 a day. And, over the course of a school year, that is lots of money to buy video games and video game systems, and eventually computer, internet, and all sorts of things. But keep in mind that everyone else that was also hustling spent their money on booze, drugs, smokes, etc. And when you get older, when you hit the later teenage years and you get a job, most people in the go would blow their entire paycheck on strip clubs or hosting parties and just all sorts of really stupid decisions. I remember I would go, back when I had friends, I would go to IHOP with them, and they would order $50 worth of food, and I would sit there and sip water and maybe have 1 or 2 eggs or something, because that's all I could afford. And but they would just blow their whole paycheck at IHOP, and I'm like, what the hell are y'all doing? And they're like, oh man, you gotta live a little, bro. You gotta live a little, man. But growing up, no one in the ghetto, none of them were good at video games. None of them cared to learn about video games or be good at anything, essentially. And they didn't get PCs. They didn't learn how to do things like video edit or record. They didn't do any of that stuff. They didn't interest in. They didn't care. And those that kind of did play video games in the later years, well, they knew that they could just have someone like me help them out. Hey, Benji, how do you do this? How do you do that? Can you come over to my house and beat this level for me? Okay, yeah, sure, whatever. But what I'm trying to ultimately get at here is that people that have my kind of upbringing or that live in my type of culture, they don't exist on the internet. They don't play video games. They definitely aren't YouTubers, at least not video game YouTubers. And so when people of the middle class, the upper middle class, find or see me or watch my videos or my content or talk or try to, communicate with me, they are culture shocked at how I act or how I react to the things that they do. And just real quick, I want to point out that I have never beefed with anyone that didn't beef with me first. And I understand that some people think, oh, well, you're a bigger channel, you don't get to beef. No, that's not how that works. It doesn't matter what someone's size is, their status, their value, their anything. All right? If someone in the ghetto, you learn very quickly, if someone beefs with you, you have to beef with them back. You have to. You cannot turn your nose up and ignore it. You can't walk away. And it's such a culture shock to people of the middle class to do this. If I'm in school and someone punches me and then I punch them back, but because I punched them back so much harder and left a mark, whereas they didn't leave a mark on me, well, that's not my fault that they didn't strength train. That's not my fault that they don't know how to throw a punch. Why am I being punished for defending myself? And I have this conversation as a child to adults. They're like, well, if someone hits you, go tell a teacher. I'm like, I don't need to do that. If someone hits me, I'm going to hit them back. And why am I getting in trouble when they are the one that started it? They are the one that attacked me first. I did not goad them into attacking me. They just attacked me because they thought they could either get away with it or because just something about my personality, the way I dress, or anything made them angry enough to attack me. And they're like, well, you should be the bigger man and not attack them back, or you should know better than to punch someone back. And it's like, no, they don't get to attack or hurt me and then they themselves not get hurt back. That is not how this works. Now, at the same time, aligning or allying yourself with someone who is that attacks me or hates on me is the exact same thing as attacking me yourself. So what I mean by that is, let's go back to the school thing, right? Let's say kid punches me, I punch him back, whatever, right? Well, it turns out, like, if the kid that punched me, who doesn't like me, has friends, well, even though the friends did not punch me because they are friends with the kid that did punch me, then they are, I'm not going to beef with them. I'm not going to go attack or bully or whatever them, but I will not be their friend, and I will not be kind to them, and I will not be accommodating to them, so to speak, right? And so let's take an example where we're in a class, and you know how, like, do you remember in school where, like, a teacher would give you, like, papers and you had to, like, pass it down the row or whatever, or, like, cards or something, just anything, right? Like, because the teacher's lazy or she's old or whatever and doesn't want to walk down and hand each student the worksheet. Well, in my case, in the ghetto, let's say there's a kid behind me that I'm supposed to pass the worksheet to. Well, the kid behind me is friends with a kid that I don't like. And so, because he is a friend, I, let him know I'm not going to pass him the paper. So I just skip him, right? So the kid views this as me bullying him, and he, gets mad or whatever. And it's like, well, no, you are friends or allies, or you're aligned with people that don't like me. Therefore, you don't like me. And so, this applies to the Albion space as well. Whereas, if, all it takes is like one person, and that one person has a million friends, and now those million friends that they have are also enemies of me, essentially, right? And this also applies in the reverse, and I'll tell you an example. If you remember a streamer named Jimbinator used to be the biggest Twitch Albion streamer before he got depressed and PvP'd himself. All right, that's how I'm going to word that, all right? So back in the day, early days, me and Jimbinator, we were pretty tight. We were cool with each other. Jimbinator knew that I'm just a silly, harmless internet troll out for laughs and, trying to make funny memories. And he was cool with it, and we hung out and stuff. But over, like this dude let everyone in. He was, the social types. They're friends with everybody. They network with everybody. Every single person. He's just going to be happy smiles and like, yeah, you can come in, you can join my friend group, you can join the club, you can do this, you can do that, right? And so he let in a lot of people that did not like me. And eventually, well, when the majority don't like someone, then the person who is hosting those people, also to make them happy, will also turn against you, so to speak. So eventually, yes, Jimbinator, went from, oh yeah, Swolbenj is just a funny troll, to Swolbenj is a horrible person, oh my god, and same thing happened with Equart. I used to hang out with, his streams and chats and stuff for like 2 years, and then he started hanging out with the wrong crowd, Coco and them, and you know how that turned out if you remember that drama, and he eventually turned against me as well, and now he says I'm a horrible person, I'm dangerous, and I'm crazy, right? Even though I have never done a thing to Jimbinator, I've never trolled Jimbinator, and I've never done a thing to Equart, I've never trolled Equart or stream sniped him or anything. I have followed him on streams when he was on West, before the server splits, and when he died, I would loot him, of course, right? Because why wouldn't I? He's running around with like 8 million silver worth of goods, like just asking for it. I didn't kill him. Someone else did. I just ran in and scooped up what I could and escaped, right? Money is money. Come on now. And, but the point that I'm getting at is that I never did either of those guys any wrongdoings. Never did them any bad stuff, right? And let's take, remember Mogdun? I don't know what he does now, but my first ever interaction with Mogdun was someone was taking his footage on YouTube and re-uploading it on their own channel and then attaching a hack program advertisement at the end. And I'm like, hey, this person is stealing your content. Here's how you can copyright strike them. And I'm trying to be like the big brother YouTuber that helps out the small baby YouTuber. And, you know, out of no interest or reason, I'm just like, oh, if I was new and didn't know how to do this, I would want someone to just reach out to me and teach me how to do this. And then he hits me with some weird religious spiel, and then he starts talking crap and making hater videos about me. And it turns out he had a whole circle of people that he hung out with that already hated me. And so by proxy, that hatred infected him as well. And you know, he'll save face, again, save face, you know, and say, oh, I don't hate anybody, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, that, to me, it's hate. And the same kind of thing continued to happen. Like, I used to hang out with a very small streamer named Meanshock. And same thing, the dude was just friends with everybody, he'd let everyone in. Eventually, he let eQuart's editor in at some point, and, you know, I wasn't budging, and I had my little place in the niche, and we would play games and do other things and stuff, but he just kept letting in haters, more and more haters in. And at the same time, it's like they kept playing like battle royale games, and I suck at it. I'm like, I'm just dragging these dudes down. I'm not getting good at these games. But what I'm trying to get at is that he just let in so many haters, and these haters started like photoshopping fake Discord convos and all this other sort of crap. And I'm like, none of this is worth it. I'm just gonna leave. And, you know, by the end of it, the dude has surrounded his inner circle with people that just absolutely hate my guts. Another one is Flaccid Baron. You know, the guy that allegedly died of a brain tumor. I'm going to continue to say that forever until there's proof. But what I'm trying to get at is that I have never once ever spoken to Flaccid Baron. I've never once played with him. I've never interacted with him, his fan base, or anything ever. Now, I like the shtick that he ran, you know, oh, beer and boobies, oh yeah, red trucker hat American guy, hell yeah, brother, what's there to hate, right? But the thing is that the dude absolutely seized at my very existence. I don't know if it was my videos that I made, but essentially, what I found out later, he surrounded himself with haters, and by proxy, that hatred infected him as well. So, of course, when he goes and allegedly dies, and people are like, aren't you sad, Soul Bitchy, aren't you sad? I'm like, no, the guy hated me. Why would I be sad? It's not, you know, whatever, right? And you gotta realize this is a culture thing. If you're in the middle class or the upper middle class, the cultural thing that they do is, oh, even though the dude was evil and hated me and was a bad person to me and wanted me dead and whatever and off the platform or whatever, you know, I'm still going to feel bad because, you know, life happened and life ended, whatever. But in the ghetto, in the poverty, in the lower, you know, echelon of the world, it's like one of my haters just allegedly died. Not my problem. Guy didn't like me. Why would I mourn for it, right? It's not someone I was connected to, was social with. It wasn't one of my friends. It has nothing to do with me. I'm going to be honest, you know, like the dude hated my guts. It doesn't affect me. Yeah, it sucks to die. Does it? Does it though? I think it's actually like, it's like going to sleep. It's like, it's peaceful. And if there's another world and, you know, an afterlife, then it's even better than this life, right? So why be sad? Why be upset? But people like get really, really mad. Oh, you should be grieving. I'm like, but the guy hated me. Would they, if they grieve over me dying, if you flip the script, they're not going to grieve. They're going to celebrate. They're going to be like, woo, Swole Benchy's dead. Yay, popping corks. You know, and you'll have the fakers out there. You'll have, like, Lupac be like, Swole Benchy really was a good content creator. I'm Lupac, by the way. And it's like, no, he's not. Like, if you read his brain, if you were able to, like, give him a truth serum, he's going to be like, yeah, I hated the guy. And the way I see these friendship circles, and I've been calling them inner circles or fart sniffers, is essentially that it's an illusion that they all just put on for a paycheck. And I understand that they're doing it as a business. That's why you see, like, Tommy666 with all the stupid sponsorship shills for, oh, Corepunk, Warborn, right? But, you know, they all pretend to be friends with each other while they all secretly hope that the others fail, or at best hoping that they never do as good or better than themselves. And when they do, they will ultimately try to bring them back down. And that's what they're just doing with me, because I'm, you know, the top dog, essentially, right? And I'm, you know, I'll admit, I've done the same. When I was a little baby YouTuber, I used to make a bunch of anti-Asmongold memes, and I'm sure he saw some of them and got a little bit upset, but it was never in a mean spirit or anything. It was just punching up. It's what you do when you're a little baby channel. But when I look at all of them networking on Twitch and stuff, it's just fake transactional friendships to sell as much brain rot as possible. And, you know, the real happy and successful content creators, they stay in their own lane. because they know that what is waiting outside of it are just hungry, nasty people who paint smiles on their faces for the camera, waiting to eat them alive in hopes that one day of trading places with them. And it's basically a group of narcissists, which is what they call me, by the way. They just need for attention and admiration, all knowing that their relevancy is slipping away in real time, and that the algorithm rewards people that put others down. And top streamers, especially in other games, they just drama farm, and it works. I mean, look at every single Albion YouTuber that made a Swole Benji video. You can't really blame them. Like, I remember one of the most prolific guild leaders in all of Albion, who is a literal 10 out of 10 giga chat in real life. Like, he made a YouTube channel, and he interviewed a bunch of people. Guess whose interview got the most views? Mine. And, I get if he made content that wasn't an interview of, someone like me, it got no views because at the end of the day, people just, they just want the drama. And I've even ran funny experiments, all right? So one of the experiments was I made a random Albion streaming Twitch channel. I made sure to use a voice changer that was very convincing, and, streamed for, I don't know, about a month. And you know who jumped in? Megs. Megs is Nazori's wife, and she's like, "Oh, hello, blah 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 blah," right? And so I join the little Discord and get in their little good graces and blah blah blah. And I get warned, stay away from Soul Benji, and I'm like, okay, sure, whatever you say. And, I just vanished one day. I just stopped streaming. I just threw that account away because it was whatever. And I made sure to be super boring, not talk during the stream to 1 to 5 viewers, right? And, I wanted to make sure it was like the boringest stream ever. You just run around in like the red zone and die a bunch, right? Or black zone too. Black and red zone only, because that's the norm, right? Play some random music in the background too. I bet some of you are gonna dig through like Twitch VODs and try to figure out which secret little voice change streamer I was, huh? But yeah, that's essentially it. It was immediate too. It was like my first or second day on that account, and she pops in, is like, "Hey, yeah, we have this guild iconics and blah blah blah," and it's like, okay, sure, yep, okay, yes, and the amount of Soul Benji hatred, it's like programmed. It's literally programmed. It's so funny. Now, if I were to, make another Twitch account and stream on there with another voice changer, I'd put on tags like red-pilled and American and, all this stuff. And they ain't gonna jump in and introduce themselves and try to, groom me to be in their little harem or their inner circle, or not even inner circle, more like outer circle. That's where Fancanth is. He's in like the outer circle of hell with Nazori's little butt sniffing group. But it's so funny, right? Cloud is currency. Most of these friendships, they're just business deals with a fake smile slapped on top. It's it's not real people having real conversations or anything. It's just fake friends and people who use each other for leverage. All right, that's the Coco and E-Court thing that happened, right? And, someone like me, I know how to differentiate and keep a good group around you of genuine, real, soulful people. Or at least I try to. That's the whole Discord questionnaire thing. That's why the questionnaire exists. People see that questionnaire, and some of them, the ones that I would never be able to be genuine friends with, or lifelong friends, rather, or long-term friends, rather, they see that questionnaire and they're like, wow, what a psycho, what a crazy lunatic. This guy has mental problems. He needs mental help, right? But then based people see it and they're like, wow, that's funny. And they answer every question right. They get in, whatever. Now, I've had people ask me, Swole Benji, why don't you just act normal? You can act normal, right? You worked in retail. You know how to act all with the fake smiles and the fake positivity. You can do it. And I've said this many times. It's insanely, absolutely soul-draining, soul-crushing to pretend to be something that you're not, right? I believe that I shouldn't have to pretend to be something that I'm not just to fit in. Why should I have to fit in with anybody? Why, I don't expect people to act a certain way around me to fit in with me. I think it's very antithetical to one's, life to act in accordance with, the popular vote, or, this is how you're expected to act. And that's a whole nother can of worms or an entire separate video to talk about that stuff. But, I did it for like 6 or 8 months back when I played WoW Classic, and because I acted normal, I was able to join a guild. And the rewards for acting normal was I was the second highest gear score horde rogue in the world at one point, which means that my gear was the second best for horde rogues in the entire world. Yes, the second strongest horde rogue in the world. All because I acted normal and was in a guild and was able to get epic raid loot drops, right? And in that guild, once I got all the loot, I dropped the persona. Now, here's the thing, right? I'm still the friendly, helpful, regular me, regardless of persona. But I'm not going to, fake smiles and yes man everything. So when the guild was telling me that I'm not allowed to go kill people with my gear in PvP, I was like, no, the game lets me kill people, so I'm going to kill them. They chose the alliance. I'm going to kill them. And then when the guild was like, stop killing the bots, because the bots help everyone rank up in PvP, and I'm like, okay, is anyone in the guild ranking up in PvP right now? And the answer was no. No one in the guild was using the bots to rank up in PvP. People outside the guild were, however. And my thought was, well, botting is cheating, botting is wrong, botting is bad, and botting should be bannable, which technically it is in World of Warcraft, but World of Warcraft is in such a crap state that they weren't banning any botting. And so the guild leadership was like, well, we keep getting whispers from these people outside of the guild about me killing the bots because it's affecting their PvP rank. And I told them, well, why do you care what other people outside the guild think? And I want to let you know that I was one of the top parsers. I had perfect attendance, and I was fully geared, so it's not like I even re-rolled a healer just to help out because they needed a healer, and they couldn't recruit anyone, so I'm like, I'll just do it, right? I can play a healer, whatever. And so I did. I did everything to help these guys. I helped them all through their quest. I did every yes-man thing that I could. The only thing is that instead of yes-manning after I got my gear of, yes, I won't kill the bots, yes, I will let the people of our server outside the guild cheat and use bots, and I won't affect that in any way. No, the thing is they were peer pressured by all the cheaters and the botters on the server to kick me out because I was killing the bots. And for some reason they thought that I would stop killing the bots after they kicked me out of the guild, or that I would stop killing the bots and beg to be let back in. Like, no. So I just have more time now to kill the bots because I'm not in a guild and I'm not obligated to go to raids and help guildies with their questing and their leveling. Instead, I have now 19 hours a day to kill the bots. So if anything, them kicking me out of the guild made the server much worse. Oops. Right? And so the way everyone else would crumble to the peer pressure. Everyone else would bend the knee to the wishes of their guild. Whereas me, it's like, I'm a free person. I can do what I want. The guild does not own me. My actions do not affect the guild or any members in the guild. The only thing that it affects is the leadership getting mass whispered by hundreds of cheaters who are mad. And the inner circle of this guild were all upper class people. They were, privileged people that made lots of money, had a very easy, cozy life. And they were just completely culture shocked that someone like me would do such actions or even exist. And again, holding back my persona for those 8 months, yes-manning and not doing anything that I wanted to do or stand up for myself in any way, was very soul-crushing and made me insanely depressed. And again, this is a fake virtual pixel video game. I shouldn't be having feelings of depression over it. I don't want to end up like Gembinator. And that's exactly what happened to him. He, instead of surrounding himself with people that, valued freedom and doing what you want like me, he surrounded himself with leftoids that all demanded that he act and think a certain way to the point where his biology didn't agree with it, and it messed up his endorphins and, all that brain stuff. I want to ask you something. Have you ever watched a generic isekai anime, which is isekai means reborn into another world? In these generic isekai animes, the story is essentially a knight or a king summons Japanese students from another world to serve as heroes and save the world. And as soon as the students are summoned into the world, the king and his knights ask the students, you are the chosen hero, go kill the devil king, go kill the demon lord, okay? And so a lot of these generic animes, they're like, okay, and then the story is about them leveling up and getting good and fighting demons and killing or beating the demon lord or whatever, right? But people with souls or people with logic, my thing would be like, why would I trust the king? Why don't I just go talk to the demon lord? They might not be that bad. It's probably just a culture thing, right? If you've ever played an old PlayStation 2 game called Disgaea, it's about a demon lord named Laharl, and man, it's been a really long time since I played that game, but essentially, it boils down to hell versus heaven, and you learn that the demons act the way they do because it's their culture. That's just how they are. That's how they were raised. That's how they were born. That's what they were born into. It's completely normal, acceptable behavior for demons to do demon things. And then the angels are like, why are you acting like this? This is crazy. And the demons are like, why are you acting like this? This is crazy, right? And it's like a cultural clash, right? And then you have the humans, and they're like, oh, well, the humans are groomed that angels good, demons bad, which is how most religions work out. But then the humans in the story realize that right now, in the story of Disgaea, the angels are doing the bad stuff. Has Been Hotel, that's another angel-demon kind of story, right? Where the angels are attacking the demons and killing them because they're afraid they will get their numbers too high or something. I don't remember Has Been Hotel story really, but it's like the same thing. It's a culture. It's totally normal in their culture to do this, and again, the humans were groomed that the angels good, demons bad, right? But then they learn not so much. And things change and stuff happens to the sky, and at the end of it, they kind of join forces, whatever. But anyway, the point that I'm getting at is that this is how it feels to be me. I'm the demon, and all the other content creators are the angels, and they're just like weirded out by my culture. And I'm like, that's just how it is. This is normal. So people are like, so Benji, you should be more like the angels and less like the demons. Blah, blah, blah. And here's the thing, like anytime I try to do this or try to assimilate or whatever, convert to a different culture entirely, it's either entirely soul-crushing or the logic behind it makes no sense. And it hurts. It like physically and mentally hurts to be around people that aren't culturally aligned in that way. Let me give you a real life example. So for like about 8 months now, I've been going to a few establishments, which are kind of a joint venture thing, where the owners are overly beyond positive, happy types. It's so creepy and weird, really. And they have a saying like, all ships rise with the tide and stuff like that, or like they do very laborious things to restore certain machines. That's all I'm going to say. Nothing illegal or anything, but I don't want to it's very obvious who these people are if you're on YouTube. But anyway, one of them, they make a video where they restore a very ancient machine, and it's a lot of work. It's an insane amount of labor, and I'm like, how do you even have the energy to do this in today's climate? Like, all this work, you're never gonna make the money back for it, and no one's gonna really appreciate what you did, and this is so much work for no payoff. It's a ridiculous amount of effort, and for what? Like, this craft, this art, is going to not exist in 50 to 100 years. No one in the next generations coming up will ever have this kind of work ethic, and they'll say little positive things like, well, the hardest thing to do, or the hardest part of doing this is to just start. And I'm like, whatever, dude. Or like, I'll win a contest or participate in a contest, and they will be like, okay, everyone that participated gets a free drink. And I will ask the owner, what is the cheapest drink that I can get that costs you the least amount of money lost? And they will get offended at this question. Like, how dare a customer try to save us money? But to me, it's like, well, you're giving me a free thing, and I want to be the least amount of burden possible for this free thing. and it's like a clash of cultures. Or like one of them's like a game dev, okay, makes video games, and you know, he has his little game station set up where a game that he made, people can come in and play it. And I sit down and play it, and he's like watching me play, right? And it's like a half puzzle game, half action game. It's a game where you can be very creative with how you kill the enemies. Like, instead of just shooting all the bad guys and exiting the level, you can do things like set up explosive barrels and then make a trap, or lure an enemy into a industrial accident or something. I'm trying to be very vague here with it, but essentially, I'm like going speedrunner mode. I grab the weapons, I grab the health kits, and I just go shoot everything and kill it. Like, I see an enemy, and instead of creatively evading its attacks and killing it, I just face tank it, use a health kit, and move on to the next enemy, kill it. And the game dev, the guy, is sitting right, he's standing behind me watching me. He's like, that's not how you play the game. That's not how I made this game. That's not how you shouldn't be playing the game like this. I'm like, well, I have the fastest time on your machine, so I think I'm playing it correctly if I have the fastest time. Secondly, this is the most efficient, fastest, easiest, stress-free way, and simplest way to get through the level with the least amount of hiccup. And he's like, well, no, you can kill this guy by doing this, and you could set little bombs here, and then you could trigger the bombs when they're nearby. And it's like, no, I can just shoot them, and the monster is dead. I'll say monster. I almost said robot. And it's like, well, you're playing the game wrong. That's not how I made the game. And I'm like, okay. And then I I haven't showed him this yet, but there's a way to loot lockers through walls. And I just feel like if I showed him this, it would just like crush his spirit, right? I don't know. And here's the thing too, and I hope none of these people watch my videos, because it would be it's gonna make them a little sad. But these places they serve hot dogs. Okay, you know what a hot dog is, right? Now, I'm a bit of a food snob. I know what a good hot dog is and what a bad hot dog is, okay? And this place charges like $5 for a hot dog, okay? And out of like the 5 years I've been there, I've only ever ordered one, because I had a really good YouTube donation that told me to buy a hot dog. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy a hot dog and take a picture and show it to the donator that I got a hot dog. And it's like, okay. So I buy their fancy $5 hot dog, and out of all the hot dogs I have ever eaten in my entire life, and let's just say it's the worst hot dog. The worst hot dog I have ever had. Now, this is a place of all positivity and all smiles, and all, everyone pats each other on the back. It's all happy-go-lucky, stuff, right? And so I eat the hot dog, and they're curious because I'm a regular, and they're like, well, what'd you think, huh? Was it good? Was it good? Huh? Yeah, was it good? And I'm like, oh yeah, it was great. And I smile. And deep down inside, I feel like I have betrayed myself. Deep down inside my soul is screaming, that's not what you think. This is a crappy hot dog. Tell them. Tell them how bad the hot dog is. It's your responsibility. It's your duty to tell them that this hot dog is bad, why it's bad, how it's bad. It's not worth $5. And it's again the worst hot dog ever. I would not eat it if I was starving to death. Okay, well, okay, I probably would, but starving to death, you eat anything, even people, right? You just become a cannibal, right? Cannibal Benji here. Anyway, the point is that the hot dog was absolutely terrible and not worth the $5. But because the entire atmosphere, and I told myself, I'm going to try to be positive around these dudes and see where it goes. And, for about several years now, I have not made a single friend. I have not been invited to anything ever that is like outside of the normal work hours that I see a lot of the regulars get to go to. I'm not part of the inner circle. Let's just say that, right? And, I guess, I don't know. I just don't know what it is, but it hurts. It hurts to hold in these opinions and feelings, and it's like, well, if I hate on the hot dog, then they're just gonna they're gonna hate me, right? They're just gonna hate me. And so for the years that I've been going to this place, and when I say years, I mean I would occasionally go maybe once or twice a month or something. But for the past 9 months, I've been devoting 6 to 10 hours to this place a week, which is a lot of time. It's I'm starting to think, it's like, well, what if I devoted the same amount of hours and time to literally anywhere else? Would I be happier? Would I have friends? Would I be healthier? Would I be happier? And, these kinds of thoughts eat away at me so much. And one thing that I tend to do in these situations is, you might know it as bridge burning, where I do something that prevents me from going back or, being welcomed back. So let's say, not in this situation, I'm just going to maybe just go away for a while and see if anyone notices, maybe don't show up for a few months and see if people like try to reach out and be like, hey, where'd you go? Why aren't you coming anymore? What happened? What do we do? Or something. I don't know. But let's take another situation. Like back when I worked in retail, I had some coworkers and they did Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll hang out with them after work and play Dungeons and Dragons, right? And they started inviting certain weird types of people that I don't vibe or agree with, and so, instead of just not or declining the D&D invites, I made sure to play the game as annoyingly as possible so that they just don't invite me back. And so I see this as a righteous action, because instead of them feeling bad that they've upset me, I instead upset them so that they feel vindicated or glad that I am no longer around. And this is a kind of a self-sacrifice thing that I've done my entire life, right? It's like, if I feel like if I'm unhappy somewhere or doing something, then I will do whatever I can to make that situation where they don't want me around. So instead of them being disappointed that they let me down, they can feel happy that I'm not there to annoy them anymore. And so you'll notice that I tend to do this in like the Albion videos and stuff, and it's like, I don't know, man. And I'll give you some more examples. Like back when I was like 12 years old on a StarCraft forum board, back in the day, there wasn't really like voice chat programs yet. It was still early internet stuff, but essentially, I was 12 years old, pretending that I was 23 years old, hanging out with a bunch of 18 to 30-year-olds on a StarCraft forum. And they would always, get together and play games, and they would invite me to play the games, and they'd always talk about, like, girls and life and college and stuff, and I'd have to, like, fake the entire time, because, again, I was 12, that I was also doing all of these adult things, right? But, eventually I realized that I don't fit in with any of these people. I don't vibe with them, and, all I'm doing is pretending to be an adult when I'm not. And so, instead of, just breaking it off with them, I was like, in my brain, I'm like, the better outcome is that I get them all to hate me somehow. And so what I did was, during the game nights where we would all get together and play StarCraft, I just used map hacks. If you don't know what a map hack is in StarCraft, it's where you can see the entire screen without fog of war. Now, granted, the website forum that we were a part of had the hacks openly available for download. That's how the internet was at the time. And so I used the hacks, and then I openly did it to where it was very obvious that I could see the entire map. Like the enemy would try to do like a drop where they get a drop ship and run behind your enemy. They run behind your like defenses and drop a bunch of Marines, and they kill all your workers. And I would have anti-air just floating, tracking exactly where their drop ship is headed every single time, just openly map hacking. And I'm like, I'm just going to do this until they get sick of playing with me, right? Or we play Counter-Strike, and again, this is before Steam existed. I want you to know, Counter-Strike existed before Steam existed. And I would use an aimbot and wall hacks and, just openly do it. And to the point where they wouldn't invite me to play with them anymore. And, that way they could all high-five each other that they got rid of me instead of being sad that I'm gone. And, like, it's just really hard for me to just find anywhere to, like, feel a part of. And that's that's, like, the problem that I have in my entire life is I don't feel like I've ever fit in or belonged anywhere with any group. For instance, there's I'm going to say a hangout spot. I'll try to be a little vague with it. There's a hangout spot that I recently discovered that is, like, 1 minute away from where I live. It is 1 minute away. And it's a place where people go to train, not weights or anything, but video games. Okay, I'm not going to say what game. But this place where these people are training at this video game, it's a very old game. It's interesting because all these people are very passionate about the game. I feel like it's a game I could very quickly learn and contribute to this group. But as soon as I walked into their den, I'm going to call it a den, because it does not feel like a open to the public place. It technically is. But the place literally looks like a rundown, damaged crack den. The people there were all drunk and rowdy and hooting and hollering. There was no actual workers or staff. There is, but they aren't dressed like they are that run the place. The entire environment is, I feel like it's beneath me. Like there's up and coming streamers that live stream events at this I'm calling it a crack den. It's not a crack den. They're not doing crack there, but it literally looks like a homeless crack den, okay? You know, in like movies and stuff, even with all the graffiti and crap everywhere. And it's like, and my first thought is, why are people training at video games at this place? This place is a crack den. This place is a dump. This place is disgusting, right? Is there nowhere better in the entire city that you could play this game at? Surely there is. Surely one of these dorks have a fancy house everyone could go to or something. It's just like my mind is immediately spiteful of the place because the place is so run down and so trashy and so crappy that it's like I would never be able to assimilate with these people. One, they're all drinking, which is like, why do they have to drink? Why do they have to freaking drink? It's so frustrating, right? But at the same time, it's like this place, like, yeah, I could take on everyone here because I'm a big boy and whatever, but like this place looks like where you go to die in a movie, like in a horror movie. But like, it's so freaky to me that everyone's just okay with this place being the place or the go-to place. And then it's like, yeah, they had an event where they actually had people that played the game on a professional level from Japan. They flew them in to this place, and I'm like, these poor Japanese gamers are going to this literal crack den to play a game. And you know, you look at the stream, everyone's having fun, everyone's hype, they got all the good vibe. Like, it's like everyone is in sync. It's like everyone is a part of a hive mind. You see that Plurbius movie? Everyone's so freaking happy, and I'm the damn character that's not happy, that's on the, you know, that isn't brainwashed like everyone else. I don't get it, right? What's wrong with me? Then you bring out the Simpsons Skinner meme. It's not me, it's the children who are wrong, right? That's how I feel. It's like, what? And, you know, I thought that being a YouTuber, making a YouTube channel and doing the YouTube thing, I would be able to find other people like me that also grew up in the ghetto, that, you know, are contrarians, that went against the grain and didn't smoke, drink, do alcohol, drugs, get tattoos, etc., who didn't lead a life of crime, and who aren't privileged luck havers or get, you know, fancy pants jobs, whatever, right? It's just, where are they? Where do I find them? I have posted every day on 6-7 different message boards on the Chan sites, before I got, you know, IP hardware banned on Reddit, essentially. I'd post there looking for people, right? And even in this video, I'll just tell you right now, like, if you want to be a YouTuber, I don't, you know, if you want to be a YouTuber, or if you're already a YouTuber, and you want to learn how to actually be like, you can clearly see that my Albion videos outperform everyone else's, and you'd be like, no, they don't. Ecourt gets more views than you. No, he doesn't. He gets like 180,000 views a month. Right now I'm getting about 600,000 views a month, maybe 581,000 views a month. So I'm getting way more views per month than he is. But, you know, that's my backlog, right? Whereas, you know, he gets a big video, 20K views, and then it dies. I get a video that I put out, 3K views, and then a year later, 30K views, right? It's a slow burn. But anyway, the point that I'm getting at is that I can teach you everything there is to do about YouTube, how to be a YouTuber, etc., etc. All you got to do is pass the damn Discord questionnaire. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. But, and play games with me, right? But essentially, I don't know, man. At this point, I don't expect to ever find anyone. Do I just drop everything and change niches? Oh, let's learn piano. Let's do a 0 to hero weightlifting, weight loss challenge, oh boy. And then let's say I go to a completely different game or change niches or whatever, or start streaming on Twitch, yeah, and I make a bunch of actual legit lifelong friends. All that's going to happen is I'm going to feel bad because I didn't do it sooner, or I'm going to feel stupid because it's like, why did I play Albion all these years? Why did I do YouTube all these years? Why did I do this all these years when I could have just did this instead? Who knew that all the people that played piano were just as spiteful and hateful as me that all came from the ghetto and hate the same things that I hate? Who knew, right? I mean, oh man. And you have the people that are like, ignore the haters, dude. The haters, you gotta ignore the haters, just ignore them, dude. And it's like, I understand the hate that's coming from me pushing save zone content in a full loot PvP game. And from my perspective, the reason that I push the save zone stuff is because it's simply more efficient for a solo, guildless, friendless player to do save zone content. The game, the full loot PvP is literally built around having friends and grouping up. It really, really is. And lately I've been playing a game called Arc Raiders, which is also a full loot PvP game. And let me tell you, the majority of people that play that game are Care Bears. They won't shoot you. They do not attack you. It's real bad. I think it's a huge problem. It's a full loot PvP game, and no one's killing each other for their loot, even though the loot isn't that good, and at the end of the day, the loot doesn't even matter. That would give me more of a reason to attack. I shoot and attack everyone in Arc Raiders to the point where I can 1v3 entire teams because they're just not used to shooting players, and they don't know what to do, or they're so scared of losing their crappy loot that they play badly. I don't know what the deal is, but it's like, what is the point of playing Arc Raiders if you're not going to shoot other players? You even get quests to kill other players with certain weapons, but no, almost everyone's like, don't shoot, peaceful, friendly, and I think it's a real problem, and so it's been a bit of an eye-opener for me to go play Arc Raiders and be like, no, why isn't anyone killing each other? To go to Albion and other people viewing me as, well, this guy is pushing this narrative that no one should go into the full loot zones, blah, 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 blah. And I've always said the reason why I do save zone content in Albion is, one, the majority, 92% of the player base are save zone players. Two, it's just more efficient. There is you've seen the recent videos dissing Van Cant, who was still dissing me, by the way. He called me slow Benji 3 days ago, so I gotta do another vid mocking his debts or whatever. That's just how it is. But the point that I'm getting at is that what am I trying to say here is that I get that people are upset that I push save zone content, but I didn't make the game. It is more efficient to play in save zones as a solo, guildless, friendless player than it is, and people are like, why don't you just join a guild, why don't you join a guild? Because not everyone fits into guilds. This whole video could prove to you that I don't fit into guilds. I do not mesh well with the normies. And I know there's people out there that also don't mesh well with the normies. They may not have the same cultural background as I do, but they still have the same problems that I have. I guess to wrap up the video, I just want to mention, whenever I join a Discord with other gamers, even if I'm on an account using a voice changer and pretending to be someone I'm not, it doesn't matter. I feel like I just do not belong. I've never felt like I have belonged with any group or in any establishment or any business or with any group. I feel like I don't even belong on the planet. I'm at the point where, I think I've said this before in many videos, that when I die and it's like, oh, go into the light, it's time to go to heaven, right? I'm going to just be like, no, I don't feel like I belong, and I'm just going to leave. I'm not going to heaven, I'm not going to hell, I'm just going to leave and go do my own thing, right? And I know people are like, that's not how it works. Well, that's how it's gonna work. I'm gonna be like, I'm not going, because I'll be in heaven, and I'll feel like I'm not gonna fit in. I'm gonna feel like I don't belong. I'm gonna feel like, what am I doing here, right? And so I'm just gonna go make my own isekai world with elves and magic and orcs and stuff. But anyway, to wrap up the video, what do you guys think? Have you been educated on the culture of the poor, ghetto, down low, street beefers, or are you a middle class enjoyer? And I know a lot of people in the middle class, upper class are like, well, it doesn't matter if you're in poverty. We will treat you the same. And that's never the case. That is never the case. Every single guild I have ever joined, it always comes down to all the middle classers and upper classers always punching down to the poverty guy and stuff. And it's just, I can't mesh with them. I can't play with them. I can't be around them, to the point where, what am I even doing on the internet? You know, it's like, I'm a complete anomaly. People that have my background and my upbringing do not use the internet other than going to the public library and watching YouTube videos of just random stupid crap. That's what they do in my town. They go to the library and they watch YouTube sloppa, right? But it's, I don't know what to do. It's driving me crazy. I just thought I'd put a video out. I know my audience, they really do enjoy these long videos. I didn't even intend to I intended this to be a 15-minute video, but here I go, off the rails again. We're about to hit an hour and 20 minutes now. Anyway, that's all I've got. As far as the faction update that's coming, I'm recording this a day before the faction update. I'll try it out, but I'm not really hyped for it. I don't think anyone is hyped for it. I'll see if it like dramatically improves the faction point gain, or if it's better. It's probably worse. Every single time SBI puts something new out, it's objectively worse than what it used to be. And so I don't have high hopes. The player count is like really, really down right now, in the dumps. So, and I'm playing other games. And the other games, they're doing okay. They're doing all right. You know, like one Arc Raiders video outperformed a whole year's worth of Albion videos in terms of ad revenue. So it's like, why do I even bother playing Albion? And this is why the bigger YouTubers don't really bother with Albion either. This is why every single person from the Crucible never came back. This is why Soda Poppin', flaked out when he was supposed to cover the game. There's a whole lot of reasons why not a single one of those Crucible losers have videos on their YouTube channels of them actually playing the game. They didn't even bother making a clip farmed content for this game. But anyway, I don't know. Just give me your thoughts. I'm just over here with nothing to do, and whatever. But hey, if I burn the bridge on YouTube, something's going south, right? If I just suddenly upload a video that's like blah, and everyone gets mad and hates me, it's like I'm doing that on purpose so that you won't miss me when I'm gone. But anyway, that's not planned. Everything's pretty normal. I've got enough money saved up to last probably another year. I think there's a $2,000 check coming next year, maybe, like some sort of Trump thing, and so that'll help pay some bills for a little bit. But other than that, I don't know what to do. I think in December I might e-beg for a copy of Ashes of Creation. I know that game's kind of dog water at the moment, but what else are we going to play? Aeon 2 came out. Apparently people hate that. I don't know what to play. I don't know what to cover or what to do, and playing these MMORPGs without friends and without a guild is just really draining. But also being a fake person and pretending to be someone I'm not to join a guild is also really draining. So either way, I'm just drained regardless. But leave a comment, click the like button. Not enough people click the like button. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm too real in my videos to the point where people downvote the hell out of them. I make an Arc Raiders video where I'm like, AFK in a team mode, or let your teammates die, and everyone downvotes it because, oh, that's rude, whatever, right? And it's like the random people, they're not really your teammates, they're your assigned teammates. It's like you're in school and you get assigned a partner, right? Who cares if you drag them down with you? That's just, again, I'm from the ghetto, that's how we think, that's our culture, don't hate. But, videos downvoted to, 50%, 20%. Come on, normies, get out. I don't want normies watching me anymore. What do I need to do in my videos to drive away the normies for good so that they never click on my videos ever again? I don't know. But if you know, let me know. Let me know what I should do. And click the video on the right side of your screen. If you don't click the video on the right side of your screen, you're going to get a bad cold that lasts 3 weeks or longer. I don't know.